She was leaning in toward him across the table, laughing that phony, high-pitched laugh she used when she wanted to seem like someone else. He never saw me coming. Not until I kicked the chair out from under him. Straight to the floor. The crash was loud enough to freeze the whole room. It felt like someone had hit pause on life. And her face, God, that face when she realized it was me. Her eyes went wide, her lips parted like she was about to explain away her whole second life. That stunned, helpless look was the only bit of peace I'd felt in a long time. I didn't shout. Didn't ask why. I just grabbed that smug bastard by his collar and dragged him through the place like he was trash that needed taking out. I ignored the gasps, the phones being whipped out, the manager yelling about calling the cops. He tried to squirm, tried to fight, but I was past all that. No more talking. Outside, my truck was waiting, engine already running. My guys were out at the farm, ready. They knew what to do. She came stumbling out after us, those expensive heels not doing her any favors, looked like some actress in a soap opera falling apart on cue. Aaron, please, she cried, grabbing at me. Don't do this. It wasn't serious, I swear. I didn't respond. I just tossed her lover into the back seat and slammed the door shut like it was final. She held onto my arm, sobbing desperate. Don't take everything from me, she begged. Don't ruin my life over one mistake. That's when I really looked at her. I mean, really saw her for the first time in years. And I didn't recognize the woman in front of me. Once, she was the girl who painted our first apartment walls barefoot in an old hoodie, laughing with paint on her cheeks as she kissed me. Now she was just a hollow version of that person, makeup too red, eyes too empty. I'm not ruining anything, I said, my voice flat. I'm just finishing what you already started. And I did. I took it all. The house. The car. The savings. Even the dogs, she always loved them more than she loved me anyway. I pulled the keys from her trembling hands, got in the truck, and drove off. But let me be clear, that wasn't the start of it all. That was the moment everything boiled over. You want to know how I ended up like this? How a plain guy like me, loyal, dependable, ended up planning payback like some small-town godfather. Then buckle up. Because it all started with a lipstick stain. Not on me. On her. It was a Tuesday and she came home late again. Said it was work. It was always work. I believed her, why wouldn't I? But when she tossed her coat onto the couch, I noticed something. A faint reddish smear on the collar of her blouse. Too dark to be hers. Now, I don't know makeup, but I know her shades like I know my own name. And that wasn't one of them. I didn't say a word. Just watched her undress, move around like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't just spit on everything we'd built. I laid next to her in bed, silent, pretending to sleep while my mind turned inside out. My chest tight, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. The next morning, I started digging phone logs, messages, credit card receipts. She wasn't even trying to cover her tracks. Dinners here, a hotel there, booked under her middle name, Lisa. Real poetic. Then came the worst of it. I saw them. In my truck. The one she said needed an oil change. She laughed as he touched her hair. He kissed her neck and she leaned in. No flinching. No guilt. Just smiling like she was 16 again. And let me tell you, betrayal doesn't feel like fire at first. It's not rage, not right away. It's slow. Like watching yourself die and rewind. Every memory starts crumbling from the end backwards. Brick by brick until you can't even trust what was real. So I planned. Not out of hate, but from this sharp, freezing kind of clarity. I'd been lied to. Played. Tossed aside like a spare part. And I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I waited. Watched. Kept track of every move. And when she made a reservation at that same place where we'd celebrated our anniversary just 2 years before, I knew it was time. The farm, that was where the real story would play out. Not for revenge. For truth. And what happened next? You'll want to stick around for that. Because if you think this part was something, wait until I tell you what went down once we got to that farm. The drive out there was dead silent. The guy in the back didn't make a sound. His name was Bruce. Of course it was. Sounded like one of those soft, polished names you'd find on a resume next to a perfect headshot. He had the hair, the tan, probably the golf swing, but not a shred of grit in him. He sat there in the back seat, breathing heavy, eyes darting out the window as the trees zipped by. It was hitting him now, he was in a real man's world and real men don't fight with texts and sarcasm. I caught him in the rearview mirror. Sweat building at his temple. His mouth twitching like he was about to beg. Part of me almost hoped he would. But he didn't. Not yet. Deborah followed behind us in her own car. I told her to come. Told her if she didn't, she'd regret it for the rest of her life. She was already crying when I said it, mascara streaking down like watercolors bleeding into each other. I didn't care. Not anymore. We pulled up to the barn. From the outside, it looked like something time had forgotten: weathered wood, hinges covered in rust, a busted wind vane from that tornado back in '07 still clinging to the roof. But inside? My boys had turned it into something straight out of a Tarantino movie. Dim lighting. A single chair dead center. Rope nearby, not enough to torture, just enough to rattle the truth out of someone spineless. Jerry and Patrick were already there. They gave me a nod as I walked in, no questions asked. They didn't need to know the details. Around here, loyalty comes first. I dragged Bruce inside and dropped him into that chair. He yelped like a kicked dog but stayed quiet. Still trying to act like this wasn't real, like he'd wake up and this would all be a bad dream. You know who I am? I asked, stepping in close enough for him to smell how serious this was. He nodded, slow and shaky. Aaron, look, man. No, I cut him off sharp. You don't get to talk. Not yet. That's when Deborah burst in. Her heels clicked on the old floorboards like gunfire echoing through a battlefield. Aaron, please, she begged. Don't do this. He's not worth it. I turned to her. You're right, I said. He's not. But you were. You were everything. And you threw that away. For him. She looked like she wanted to fight back. She always did. Always had an excuse, a spin, a story ready to go. It wasn't like that, she said, her voice shaking, lips quivering. Oh no. I snapped. Then tell me what it was like. Tell me why my wife was checking into motels using a fake name. Tell me why she was moaning another man's name in my truck. She turned pale, like all the blood just gave up and left her body. I turned back to Bruce. You know what's funny, man? I said, almost calm now. You probably thought this would end with me screaming, maybe swinging once or twice, maybe blasting you on social media. I leaned in, voice low. But I'm not that guy. I'm not some sad, broken man writing blog posts about heartbreak. I'm the guy who built her world. And I'm the guy who's going to tear it apart. That got him talking. Suddenly, he couldn't shut up. Words spilled out like he was racing the clock. It was her idea, man, he stammered. She said she felt invisible. That you were always working, that you controlled everything. She said you didn't even want her anymore. I laughed, dry and bitter. Not because it was funny, because it was pathetic. Touch her. I repeated. You think this was about sex? You think I wouldn't have torched the whole damn world for her if she just asked? Deborah's expression shifted like she was seeing me for the first time. And maybe she was. Truth is, I didn't recognize her either. You were bored, I said, voice flat. So you burned everything down. Just to feel something. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, I said. You're sorry you got caught. I pulled out the folder from inside my coat. Dropped it right there in the dirt between them. Photos. Receipts. Hotel logs. Even a voice recording, her telling Bruce I was just a phase. That she needed to move on. It's all gone, I said, almost gently. The prenup's invalid, infidelity clause. The business? In my name. Savings? Already locked down. And the dogs? I smirked. They're staying with me. You get nothing, Deborah. You tossed it all away for some quick excitement with a guy who couldn't even look me in the eye. She dropped to her knees right there in the dust, sobbing, begging. Please, Aaron. Please don't take everything. But I already had. Bruce just sat there. Staring at the ground. No fight left in him. Couldn't even raise his head. And that was just the start. Deborah stayed there on the floor, makeup smeared, tears cutting rivers down her cheeks like all her lies were finally starting to wash away. You'd think someone in that spot would beg with some grace. Not her. Even then she had to twist the knife. This is your fault, she spat, voice cracking. You made me feel invisible. I blinked. Jerry shifted nearby, uneasy. He could feel it coming. But I raised a hand, kept everyone back. I needed to hear this. You're standing in a barn, I said slowly, while your boyfriend looks like he's about to pee himself, and you're telling me this is somehow on me. You never saw me anymore, she snapped. You were always working. Always focused on projects, your friends, your goals. Our goals, I corrected her. Our business. No, she shot back. Your business. I was just the trophy wife. The one who smiled and played hostess. And cheated, I added, voice cold. Let's not forget the part where you spread your legs for a guy who wears cologne like it's battle armor. Bruce flinched at that. Couldn't even glance up. Coward. You think I wanted it to go this far? She cried. You think I planned this? No, I said. You just planned on never being caught. The silence after that was thick. Heavy. Ugly. She knew I was right. Hell, deep down, she always had. Betrayal doesn't usually show up wearing another man's face. No, it starts quiet. Missed calls. Cold smiles. Changed passwords. Little cracks that grow until the whole damn foundation crumbles. It's not a stab, it's a slow, silent bleed. She'd been gutting me for months, one little slice at a time, and I didn't even see it. I was too busy trusting her, believing in something that was already dead. She got to her feet, shaky in those ridiculous heels, but her chin was still up, like she had something left to stand on. You think stripping everything from me makes you some kind of hero? She snapped. You're not. You're just proving you're a monster. I stepped in close, so close I could see the flecks of foundation in the corner of her eyes. I never wanted to be a monster, Deborah, I said quietly. But you didn't leave me a whole lot of choices. You handed me the knife and dared me to use it. She slapped me. Not hard. But it hit. Not just the sting, what got me was the nerve. Like she still thought she had the right to be outraged. Like she still saw herself as the one who'd been wronged. Jerry started to move toward us, but I stopped him with a wave. It's fine, I muttered. She's got nothing left but swings. And right then, Bruce finally spoke again. His voice was barely above a whisper. Can I go? I turned on him so fast he jolted in that chair like he'd been shocked. Go? I said. You screw another man's wife and think this is just a misunderstanding you can walk away from? I didn't know she was married at first, he blurted, eyes wide. Deborah didn't deny it. Not a word. Oh, so you're just a clueless fling she used to feel something again? A distraction from the unbearable tragedy of being loved. I leaned in until my breath fogged his glasses. You're not walking out of here like this didn't happen. You're going to sit in this barn and you're going to learn what loss feels like. Because she lied to you too, didn't she? Promised you something real. Told you she'd leave me for you. He nodded. Didn't even try to defend it. Yeah, I muttered. She's good at stories. Deborah looked like she wanted to scream, to fight back, but the words weren't there anymore. For once, she had no script. No lie to rescue her. I turned my back on them both. You're staying here tonight, I told Jerry. Make sure neither of them leaves. Patrick nodded toward the corner. Want me to bring the camera in? No, I said. No point in filming garbage. This isn't a show. It's closure. And that's exactly what it was, the beginning of the end. People throw around that word, closure, like it's clean, like it's some neat little package you tie with a bow and walk away from feeling lighter. But real closure? It's ugly. It's blood under your nails and acid in your throat. It screams. It stinks. It sits with you. After I walked out of the barn, I didn't head home. I just drove. No real direction. I needed to put distance between me and the sound of her crying, the kind of fake sobs that clung to your skin like smoke. Radio off. Both hands clenched on the wheel like it was the only thing holding me together. In the passenger seat sat silence. Thick, suffocating, like it wanted to crawl into my lungs and choke me out. I don't know how long I drove, an hour, maybe two. Didn't matter. I just needed to keep the fury from swallowing me whole. Eventually, I pulled off at this old roadside diner. The kind where the waitresses call you honey and serve coffee that tastes like burnt wood and regret. I sat there staring into a full mug I never drank, trying to figure out when it all started falling apart. But there wasn't one moment. No switch that flipped. It was slow, like rot. Quiet until it wasn't. Until everything collapsed. Deborah wasn't always like this. Or maybe she was and I just didn't want to see it. Back then, she was magnetic. That laugh could light up a room. Her eyes, God, those eyes, they made promises without saying a word. I thought I'd found something rare. Turns out it was glitter-painted plastic. I gave her everything. I busted my ass building a business from nothing, made sure she lived easy. Made sure she never needed a damn thing. And while I was out there bleeding for our future, she was in motel rooms calling someone else baby. It wasn't the cheating that hurt most. It was the audacity. I left the diner around midnight. Parking lot was dead quiet except for the buzz of an old streetlight and the crunch of gravel under my boots. I looked up at the sky and tried to remember who I was before all this. Before her. Before everything got twisted. Back at the farm, Jerry had texted me updates. Still here. Bruce is silent. She won't stop pacing. Good. I wasn't done with them yet. When I finally stepped back into the house, it felt like a damn museum. Every room was a monument to something that used to matter. The couch where we planned trips. The hallway where we danced drunk on cheap wine. The bedroom of God, that room. I stood in the doorway, staring at the bed where she used to whisper forever while dreaming about someone else's hands. I didn't cry. Didn't even shake. I just felt hollow. Like everything inside me had been scooped out and all that was left was a shell with a mission. So the next morning I started cleaning house for good. Put the place on the market. Changed every password. Shut down our joint accounts. Froze every card with her name on it. Called my lawyer. Then I drove back to the barn. Deborah was outside this time. Hair a mess, eyes like glass. She looked like she hadn't slept, and good. Bruce was still inside, hunched over like he hadn't moved, marinating in sweat and regret. She stood when I approached. "Aaron, please," she said, voice barely there. "We've both made mistakes. But we don't have to destroy each other." I tilted my head just slightly. "You already did," I said. "I'm just finishing the job." "Please," she said again, her voice cracking. "We can fix this." I looked at her, really looked. "No," I said. "You broke something that doesn't glue back together." She reached out and touched my hand. I let her. Just for a moment. Just long enough to remind myself what her skin used to feel like when it meant something. Then I pulled away. "This," I said, waving a hand around the barn, "this is as close to mercy as you're ever gonna get. Because closure doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it's just a scar you learn to live with. And mine? It was just starting to scab over." She followed me inside, quiet now, like some worn-out ghost still clinging to the last scraps of her humanity. Her heels were gone. Makeup smeared. Hair pulled back in a lazy ponytail that made her look younger, but not innocent. No, not anymore. Not ever again. And the tears? They dried up. Which honestly felt worse than the crying. At least the crying showed something. Bruce was still slumped in that chair like a deflated doll. His shirt stuck to him with sweat, head hanging like he already knew he didn't matter anymore. I didn't even glance his way as I stepped inside. He wasn't the root of the problem. He was just the symptom. Deborah was the infection that had been spreading through my life. I turned and shut the barn door slowly behind me. It groaned on its hinges like it knew we were about to lay something to rest. "You know what keeps playing in my head?" I asked as I started pacing. She stayed frozen near the entrance like she wasn't sure if she should run or repent. "That weekend in Nashville. The one you said was a girls' retreat." She swallowed hard. "Aaron, save it," I said, cutting her off. "You posted the picture of a coffee mug and a mountain view. Said it was peaceful. Even sent me a voice message, said you missed me." I stopped and turned to her. "But you weren't in Nashville. You were 2 towns over. Room 28 at a motel. Name on the reservation? Bruce." She didn't even try to deny it. And right then I knew there wasn't a single word she'd said that I could ever believe again. Even the "I love yous" felt tainted now. Poisoned in hindsight. "Want the full list?" I asked, pulling my phone from my pocket. "I got receipts. Literally. Timestamps, locations, hotel charges." "You weren't careful, Deborah. That's what stings. You didn't just betray me, you disrespected me with it." She stared at the ground. "I didn't think it would go this far," she mumbled. "You mean you didn't think I would go this far?" I corrected her. She finally met my eyes. Her voice was flat, dead. "I was lonely." I laughed, a cold, hollow thing. "No, you weren't lonely. You were bored. And instead of fixing what was cracked, you torched the whole damn house." I walked up to Bruce. He flinched before I even moved. That told me everything I needed to know. "Tell me something," I said. "Did she ever mention our wedding? The vows? How she cried when she promised to be faithful?" He nodded slowly. "And you still kept seeing her?" "She said it was over between you two," he muttered. "Said you were just roommates with rings." That one hit. Not because it was true, but because I knew she believed it. Deborah spoke up again, barely audible. "I felt like a ghost in our house, Aaron. I needed to feel something real." I turned to her. "So you picked the quickest thrill. The most convenient lie. You didn't want real, you wanted new. You wanted excitement without the work." She didn't answer. "Let me ask you something," I said, calmer now. "Did you ever plan to tell me? Ever think about being honest?" She looked at me, eyes empty. "No." That word landed harder than all the others. Not the cheating. Not the lies. That. She would have just kept smiling in my face. Let me kiss her. Touch her. Tell her I loved her while sneaking out the back door to play pretend with a guy who probably thought loyalty was a TikTok trend. She didn't speak. The silence told me everything I needed. I turned back to Bruce and pointed at the barn door. "Get out." He blinked. "What?" "You heard me. Walk. You don't get to hide behind her anymore. You made your bed, go lie in it somewhere far from here." He shot up and didn't wait for a second warning. The door slammed shut behind him, and then it was just me and Deborah. She opened her mouth to say something, but I raised my hand. "I'm done listening," I said. And I meant it. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt something that resembled control. But I still didn't know which part would hurt more, what I'd already lost or what I was about to do next. I stood there, watching her like I was staring at an intruder who broke into my past. She didn't move. Just stood near the barn window, arms wrapped around herself like she thought I might still reach for her. Like she believed there was some version of me left that would forgive this. But he was gone. She killed that man slowly, with every secret text, every smug smile, every whisper of love in a bed that wasn't ours. The next day I went back to the house. Alone. No music. No distractions. Just quiet. I didn't go to say goodbye. I didn't go for closure. I went to remember. The living room was still messy, throw blanket draped on the couch the same lazy way she always left it. Her favorite mug sat in the sink. The scent of her perfume lingered in the hallway like a cruel joke. Every room held a ghost. A lie wrapped in memory. But it was the photo wall that stopped me cold. 12 framed moments, our wedding, that trip to Miami, her blowing out candles on her 30th. Smiles I used to think were joy now looked like apologies she never had the guts to say. I should have seen it. Should have known. I remember once walking in on her crying in the bathroom. She said it was hormones. Just stress. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, I don't trust a single tear she ever cried again. I grabbed a box from the garage and started packing up her stuff. Not because I was mad, at least not in that moment. It just needed to be done. Her presence in that house was like smoke after a fire, hangs in the air, sticks to your skin, poisons you if you let it. I had to get her out before I started breathing her in again. Her closet looked like a battlefield dressed in designer. Dresses she only wore when we were fighting, shoes that cost more than tires for my truck but were on sale, like that made it okay. Everything looked staged, like she wasn't even trying to be herself anymore, just some version of a woman she thought she was supposed to be. I threw it all into boxes. The jewelry. The lingerie I now knew wasn't just for me. That perfume that used to drive me crazy now made my stomach knot. Even her little sticky notes, those phony, glitter-penned ones that said things like love wins. Yeah, well, love lost. By the time I was done, it was past midnight. I sat on the edge of the bed, alone, breathing in the silence like it was the only honest thing left in the room. That's when I found it. A letter. Tucked in the drawer next to the bed, mixed in with old birthday cards and spare change. It was sealed. My name on the front. Just Aaron. No heart, no love you, no warmth. Just cold, sharp ink on thick, expensive paper. I stared at it for a full minute before tearing it open. Aaron, if you're reading this, things probably didn't go the way I hoped. I never meant to hurt you. You have to believe that. I just wanted to feel alive again. You were always so strong. So focused. I felt like I was fading beside you. Like I didn't matter anymore. Bruce made me feel seen. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. You didn't deserve this. But I didn't know how to tell you I was drowning. I didn't know how to be yours anymore. I'm sorry. I stopped reading there. Folded it up and tossed it into the fireplace without a second thought. Watched the flames eat the words like they were never written. It felt symbolic, but more than that, it was necessary. That letter was the last piece of her I'd ever keep. Because I wasn't her husband anymore. I was the guy who survived her. And the guy who was about to make damn sure she never found a way back. I woke up the next morning on the couch. I didn't plan to. I just couldn't force myself to sleep in the bed we used to share. That bed felt like a crime scene now. A place where betrayal soaked into the sheets and lies still whispered from the pillows. I made a pot of coffee black, no sugar, no cream. Bitter. Just like everything else now. The plan was already moving. I had the house paperwork in progress, transferring it into my name only. That prenup she barely glanced at when we signed it? Turns out it was sharper than she realized. Her cheating voided everything, her claim to the business, the savings, the vehicles. All of it. She thought I was the safe bet. The boring guy. Steady. Predictable. But she didn't see the storm coming. By noon, I was standing outside my lawyer's office as she pulled up in the car I was about to take back. She stepped out slow, wearing the same coat I bought her last Christmas. Funny thing, it still had the price tag tucked inside. She'd never worn it. Not until today. Not until she had to pretend to be put together. We sat across from each other at this long, polished table. The lawyer walked us through the paperwork. Signatures. Transfers. Assets changing hands. Deborah didn't look at me once. Her hands shook, but her face was a mask. That was her thing, she only cried when someone was watching. This document gives him full ownership of the house, the business, and all jointly titled property, the lawyer said. Per the terms of the prenup and based on the submitted evidence of infidelity, the dissolution of assets is approved and final. She gave one small nod. Eyes locked on the papers in front of her. I'll give you two a moment, the lawyer said before leaving the room. That's when she finally looked up at me. This isn't justice, she said quietly. This is revenge. I leaned forward, hands steepled. No, Deborah, I said. This is balance. You had your fun. Now I get my peace. You took everything, she whispered. No, I replied. You gave it away. Her bottom lip trembled. I loved you. I shook my head. No. You needed me. And then you hated meeting me. So you found someone weaker. Someone who made you feel powerful again. That's not love. That's survival. She stood up then, voice rising. So that's it? You burn it all down and walk away like none of it mattered? No, I said, standing too. I walk away whole. You walk away hollow. She slapped the papers onto the table, her voice cracking. You'll regret this. One day you'll see you destroyed someone who just wanted to feel alive again. I tilted my head, calm as ever. I didn't destroy you, Deborah. I just took off the mask. Now you get to rebuild on your own. And with that I turned and walked out. I didn't look back. Didn't need to. Outside, the sky was a soft, heavy gray. That kind of overcast that makes the world go quiet. But for the first time in a long time I felt still. Like the storm wasn't chasing me anymore, it was behind me. I got in my truck. Turned the key. The engine hummed like it knew we were finally free. As I pulled away, I saw her in the rearview standing on the sidewalk, small and still. And for the first time I didn't feel anything at all. She wasn't the woman who broke me. Hell, she wasn't even the woman I married. She was just someone I used to know. And I didn't hate her. Not anymore. But I sure as hell wasn't ever going to forgive her either. Some cuts go too deep to heal clean, and some wars, when they're over, leave nothing behind except the man strong enough to walk away from the wreckage. The days that followed were quiet. Strangely quiet. No calls. No texts. No teary voicemails begging for a second chance. Deborah vanished like a summer storm, loud, reckless, and gone, leaving behind nothing but scattered debris. I didn't go looking. Not once. I always thought heartbreak would come with shattered plates, yelling, maybe a few cops at the door. But the real pain? The real kind? It's soft. Creeps in on you like fog. It's in the mornings when you reach across the bed out of habit and touch nothing but cold sheets. It's in the quiet over dinner where there used to be shared glances and dumb little laughs, now replaced by nothing but the scrape of a fork and your own breathing. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was rebuilding. The weeks that followed were work. Real, focused, no excuses kind of work. I poured myself into the company. Not to prove anything. Not to show her. I just needed something to build again. I needed to remember I could make something grow from ruin. And people noticed. Friends I hadn't seen in months started popping up again, some old, some new, all full of thoughts and theories. She didn't deserve you. You're better off. I never liked her anyway. All well-meaning. All useless. Because none of them knew what it's like to pack up the pieces of a life you were building with someone, throw them in a box, and toss it all like it never mattered. Then, one night, about a month later, a letter showed up in the mail. No return address. Just my name on the envelope. But I knew that handwriting. Like my own. Deborah. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't curiosity that made me open it. It was closure. That last dangling thread waiting to be cut. Aaron. You were right. I didn't know what I wanted. I thought I wanted freedom, excitement, some kind of new chapter. But what I really wanted was to feel chosen. And now I know you chose me. Every single day. In ways I didn't deserve. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I haven't earned it. I just want you to know. I see it now. Everything you did. Everything I threw away. I'm sorry. E. I folded the letter and slid it into a drawer with old receipts and appliance warranties. Not to keep it. Not really. Just to remind myself that even liars sometimes find the truth, but only when it's too damn late. I didn't write back. Some things don't deserve a reply. A few days later I went out to the barn. It was quiet now. Empty. Dust drifting through the beams. I walked to the center, stood where Bruce once sat, shaking in that old wooden chair. The chair was gone. The memories weren't. I ran my hand along one of the old support posts, took a breath. This place had seen the worst side of me. But it's also where I found my edge again. My clarity. Funny how pain can sharpen you like that. Before I left, I pulled out my pocket knife and carved 4 words into the beam. I survived her. For me. Not for revenge. Not for closure. For me. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering exactly who the hell you were after someone tried to break you. And me? I'm still here. Stronger. Smarter. Colder, maybe? But clearer than I've ever been. If I could go back and talk to the man I was that night in the restaurant, the guy who kicked in the door of his own story, I'd tell him this. Don't be afraid to lose what was fake. Be afraid to forget what's real. She was the fire. But I was the one who walked through it. And I came out steel.